Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. You know, people have always said that Donald Trump is playing chess while his opponents are playing checkers, that he's constantly engaging in these tactics and these moves, this 5D chess strategy. And you know, for the most part, you kind of take it as a meme. You don't necessarily take it so literally. But honestly, over time, I'm starting to believe it. It does kind of feel like he's 5 steps ahead of his opponents and constantly setting up these traps for them to walk directly into. Either that or Democrats are just absolutely dumb and have no idea what they're doing, and it makes Donald Trump look like an absolute freaking genius. But here we go. I mean, once again, every single time the Democrats fall for the bait. They simply cannot help themselves. And once again, they've been baited into defending the indefensible. And let me show you guys exactly what I mean by that, but this video is actually brought to you guys by a sponsor, so let's first play that clip. This video is brought to you by Ground News. Well, folks, we're once again in the Trump media landscape. And what does that mean? It means the media cartel is working overtime to twist the truth, create fake scandals. And during times like these, you need to stay ahead and you need the right tools to stay informed. And that's exactly where Ground News comes in. Folks, Ground News is one of the best news aggregating websites in the business. And it's not just because they aggregate the news. No, it's really their tools and features that set them apart. And their flagship tool that everybody rants and raves about is their blind spot feature that does pretty much exactly what you'd expect. It exposes the partisan media blind spots. Take this story right here, for instance. Blue states are being linked to a whopping $400 million in unemployment fraud. And you know, we always got these leftoids claiming that fraud doesn't exist. Oh, Elon Musk hasn't found any fraud. Well, no wonder they think that. 0 left-wing sources have covered this story. And that's the beauty of Ground News. By simply using this website, well, nothing gets past you. Their platform brings all the coverage together, so you always see exactly what's going on and what's being reported on both sides. Folks, it's an absolutely great service. I cannot recommend it enough. And the cherry on top, here's the pitch. Thanks to our partnership with Ground News, we've got a massive exclusive deal just for you. Simply click the link down below, heading over to ground.news/hivemind, or scan the QR code on screen, and you can take advantage of this exclusive promotion, getting 40% off when you sign up for their Vantage plan. That's 40% off to cut through all the noise and the BS by adding Ground News to your information arsenal. A huge thank you to today's sponsor. Now back to the video. Alright folks, so let's break down exactly what happened here. I'm sure if you guys exist on X at all, or you've been paying attention to left-wing news, you've probably noticed these weird left-wing conspiracy theories floating around. This idea that Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the MS-13 member who was deported under the Trump administration, has somehow gone missing. There's no proof that he's alive, he could be dead. This notion that he's been disappeared, and there's been no sign of life, no proof that the Trump administration hasn't killed him. I mean, totally baseless nonsense. Well, with all these theories now swirling around, Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador and Donald Trump's great friend, has decided to kind of change his strategy a little bit, and he pulls a 200 IQ move after initially ignoring Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen's pathetic little El Salvadorian envoy, let's call it. Initially, it seemed as though he wanted nothing to do with Chris Van Hollen, but just yesterday he decided let's take a little bit of a different angle. And so he actually released Kilmar Abrego Garcia in order to accomplish 2 things. Firstly, to prove that the left-wing conspiracy theories about Kilmar being disappeared or possibly dead or possibly injured and maltreated, well, he totally shut down those theories, while also completely trolling the left. He released a photo of Kilmar with Chris Van Hollen together and added this caption: "Now that he's been confirmed healthy, he gets the honor of staying in El Salvador's custody." Absolute troll. That was the first angle, and the second very clear angle is the trap that was set. What did he produce? Not only did he produce proof that the Democrats are lying, but he produced a photo op that I think will haunt the Democrats for a very long time. We now have a photo of a Democrat U.S. Senator posing for a picture, breaking bread and drinking margaritas with a confirmed MS-13 gang member. Bravo!
Congratulations, you played yourself.
You can't make this stuff up. The Democrats have managed to turn an MS-13 deportation into their flagship immigration cause. And you know, I've been waiting for this whole thing to blow up in their face, and that's why I've been saving so many clips. You know, I saved the CNN clip from a few days ago because I knew that it was going to be useful at some point.
It's going to resonate with people that doesn't feel like they're arguing to bring somebody back from El Salvador who they've now kind of held up as the poster child for our immigration policy. And I don't think that's where Democrats want to be.
They believe, the White House believes, just that they are following the Supreme Court's order here. They think everybody else has got this wrong and that they've got it right on the word facilitate, and the courts cannot compel them on foreign affairs matters. So they actually think they're in the right, and they're willing to fight that out, I guess, as it goes back through the court system. And as long as they are fighting it out, we're going to have days and days of Democrats, I guess, going to El Salvador to try to retrieve this guy, which plays right into their hands, I think.
Exactly. The Democrats have played into Republicans' hands. They've played into Trump's hand, and now they've branded this as their immigration platform. They've made an illegal, gang-affiliated thug whose own wife accused him of domestic violence and who was at one point stopped in Texas with a group of individuals in his car that he was supposedly driving up to Maryland. In other words, he was suspected of being involved in human smuggling and human trafficking. They've made this guy the image of their immigration activism. And now they're having cocktails with him, and the photo is being taken and shipped all over the internet as a massive win for the Trump administration. I'm sure in Chris Van Hollen's very small mind, this was a win for him, right? I came and accomplished what I set out to do. Finally, the government of El Salvador has granted my request. But again,
Congratulations, you played yourself.
it's freaking over, and I can't believe Democrats thought this was a good idea. To be completely honest, they should stay away from immigration forever. They'd be better off just pointing at the stock market every single day, even though it's relatively stabilized. But anyways, that would be a better strategy than touching anything relating to immigration, because immigration is Donald Trump's #1 winning issue.
I mean, this is the big question, right? I hear all these stories, all these articles. All the Trump voters, they regret what they did back in 2024. I'm here to tell you, very few of them regret what they did back in 2024. What are we talking about? Trump voters looking back at 2024. We got a new poll out. The poll was conducted this month. What percentage would change their vote to a different candidate? We're talking just 2%, just 2%. That's not even a wide spot on the road. And then there's this additional 1% who say they would rather not vote. We're talking overall under 5% might or would have changed their vote, Donald Trump voters back in 2024. And then you ask, okay, the same question to Kamala Harris voters, and it turns out the numbers are rather similar. So if there was a repeat, if folks got to be able to redo their vote that they had back in 2024, would the result be any different? I doubt it would be, or it would still be extremely close. The bottom line is, for all this talk of Trump voters regretting their vote, in the numbers, it really just doesn't show up.
Americans simply don't want open borders. They don't want unchecked illegal migration. They want a sovereign country. They want law and order. And ding, 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 they want illegals deported. Not just the gang members, but all illegal migrants. And now what are Democrats doing? They're doubling down on the absolute insanity that sent them to the gutters in the first place. And the craziest part is they haven't learned their lesson at all. No, they're doubling down. We've now got Chris Hollen running to Rachel Maddow's show on MSNBC, making the statement that more Democrats will join him.
You were told by the U.S. Embassy in El Salvador that they have received no request from the White House or from the Justice Department, from any other entity in Washington, asking them to take any steps to obtain the release of Mr. Abrego Garcia. Presumably, it's the local U.S. officials at the embassy there who would be the relevant point of contact, first point of contact for the U.S. government trying to attain that outcome, correct?
Well, that's exactly right. It is pretty clear that the Trump administration has not lifted a finger to implement that court order. And so I think it's important that the courts know that, and they will know that. And again, denying his family an opportunity to even have a phone call with Kilmar is just a gross violation of basic human rights and human decency. And, I asked the vice president if I came back next week, whether or not I could go visit Kilmar. And the answer was no, he couldn't guarantee that. I said, look, I may be the first member of Congress here, the first senator, but I can assure you more will be coming. And you cannot continue to keep this man locked up in this worst prison in El Salvador, and one of the worst in the hemisphere, when he hasn't committed a crime.
And so what's the strategy here? Hosting a private event with MS-13 members? Toasting champagne and eating sushi? And I'm telling you, they're really diving into this thing. James Carville yesterday came out and said this is the best thing they've got, and they've got to keep harping on it.
This we should fight out. You can't pivot to an economic issue. Wait a minute. This is why we think we're a country. And if they do this to him, it's an old saying, first they came for the, whatever, and then they came for me. You know why you remember that saying? Because there's wisdom in it. There's real wisdom in it. History has taught us that. First they came for him, and then we're going to say no right there. We got to keep fighting this. I think this is worthy of being on the top agenda of things that we're going to fight over is get this guy back home.
This party is so absolutely lost, it's not even funny. And actually, it's got me thinking of this data from this Atlas Intel poll that just released. 84% of Americans agree Democrats face a crisis of leadership. 80% agree that Democrats don't know how to oppose Trump. 68% agree that Democrats are out of touch with real issues affecting America. Yeah, you think? It's obvious this party has absolutely no idea what it's doing. I mean, the strategic blunders are just unbelievable. They choose the most brain-dead issues to virtue signal on. They clearly don't know how to oppose Donald Trump. From everything we saw during the early days with their protests against Doge, to the stunts that they pulled at Donald Trump's first congressional address, to now this, I mean, they keep playing into his hands. They make him stronger. That's why his approval rating is higher now than it was when he first got elected in 2016. And now, again, they've completely played themselves.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
What an absolute utter disaster. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.